Welcome everyone to this video. This is going to be a breakdown of my most recently completed Lego build. And this is my first major build in Bricklink Studio, so I definitely learned a lot and I can share what I've learned throughout the build. But if you want to see some of my progress in the videos I've made during this build, then you can check out the YouTube shorts on my channel, or you can look at the playlist on my channel that's called Building a Lego Church, and that'll contain all the shorts in order, so you can go from beginning to end as I was building this. There's going to be a couple of spots where they might need polishing in this build, so you know, it's not 100% clean and 100% complete, but in general it is basically complete. And I wanted to walk through how I built this and some of the features and highlights that stood out, and things that I can also take away as learning for next time. So without anything further, hopefully this won't be too long, as this is the second time I'm recording this, since the first time I forgot to hit the screen record button and I just ended up with 30 minutes of audio and no video. So hopefully I can get through this in a shorter time than that, but I do just want to kind of take my time and go through everything. So sit back and enjoy. So how I started off this build was by laying down a foundation. You can see here one of the brown plates is missing, but you can see that I had a foundation of these bricks. Let me just delete this. Yep, so now you can see that there's these 1x12s going across the foundation, and it was a cross shape, so I had 2 going vertically, 2 horizontally, and then I closed off the edges to make that cross foundation. But if you notice that if you look at the church, there are diagonal sidewalls. So if it was just the cross, it would just be the cross without these connecting points in between. But I felt like I wanted a little bit rounder shaped building, or at least something in between, and that kind of gave way to these diagonal sidewalls. I started putting down these interesting round semicircle kind of corner bricks. You can see that over here. And then I just kept on building up from there. I picked out some interesting bricks, kind of like these diamond shaped bricks, and I just tried putting them, trying to make them work together. You'll see a lot of other interesting bricks as well. This one's called the wedge, and these are almost like, yeah, semicircles. It calls it macaroni. That's a pretty good name. And some pillars as well. Also like to use cylinders, so to make these kind of like golden staffs or rods or pillars. And from that point on, I kind of knew that my color theme for this build was going to be gold and white. So after layering upon layers and adding new bricks, introducing new bricks into the mix, I finished a diagonal wall, and I continued to copy that over to the other side, and I would do this for all 4 diagonal sidewalls. And this is where kind of I didn't know about Bricklink Studio's submodel method, where you can select multiple bricks and then it says that you can create it into a submodel. And then I also didn't know about this feature, which was the copy and mirror. I wish it was a little bit more. There was like a button up here, so that I would have known about this earlier, or noticed it at least. But you know, now that I know it, I can use this in the future when I'm duplicating sections of my build. So really nice feature, but I wish it was a little bit more obvious from the beginning. Although I do commend Bricklink for making this software very user-friendly, very easy to learn at the get-go. So once I had the diagonal sidewalls, then I started to work on the walls, the east wing and the west wing. So these are not the front or back, but the east wing and the west wing, and these are symmetrical. A lot of elements in this video or in this build are symmetrical. So I did do a lot of copying and pasting, or like cloning and duplicating, but I think it was required just because how buildings are usually symmetrical. So then I decided to work on this east wing. I had actually, the way I think I worked on it was I worked on this diagonal sidewall first, then this on the other side, and then I kind of went into the east wing to take a break mentally, and to let my, just let the creative juices flow instead of getting bored about, duplicating and copying. So you'll find that I usually do that sometimes, is when I get bored of cloning things, I'll work on something new and try to make something new. And then when I get tired of trying to make new things, I kind of just want to lay back and duplicate stuff and kind of let my mind take a break, or the creative side take a break. And so I decided to use kind of a cross cutout shape and then fill it with stained glass. You'll notice a lot of cross cutouts in this build, and I chose the color orange just because it was the closest color to gold, but still being transparent. And I added this bar on top because I felt like I wanted to start the windows closer to the ground, but at the same time I needed something on the top. At this point I also wasn't sure how tall the building was going to be, but I think based on the diagonal sidewalls it came out to a good height. And then you'll also notice that I have these protruding elements in front of the wall just to add some depth and also some additional details and ornamentation. I use a lot of the modified side bricks, where I'll just pull one out, where I have a brick and then some studs on the side. So that's how I got some of these design elements. And so then I moved on to the actual front-facing east wing wall, and for this I decided to do a cross cutout. The thinking behind this was like, if I could get some light to shine through, or like a light source, it would show the shadow of the cross inside. But I actually ended up not working on the inside for this build. That will be in another build. Basically, I ended up cloning this project after I finished the walls and I guess the center roof, and so that way instead of having to work on the inside and then closing the roof up, I can just make another project about the inside without most of the roof, because it's not like this is a real Lego build where I can just immediately take off the roof and show you the inside. Although I suppose I could do that if I grouped everything on the roof as a submodel, but that'd be pretty tedious considering that I didn't think to group everything to submodel as I was building the roof. So the inside of church might be another video, or it might be another build or project sometime. I'm just not sure when. But anyways, I liked using the cross-shaped cutouts, and also like the stained glass windows, and I decided to add banners for this side because I thought they looked pretty nice. And I really do like these banner elements. And you'll see that the theme, there are a couple themes for this church, but one of them is Ascension. It's kind of like thinking about Jesus ascending back into heaven, but also kind of how we want to grow spiritually and ascend in a sort of sense. Because I think it's beautiful in that sense of ascending, maybe climbing a mountain, or how mountains represent majestic, or represents the mountains are majestic, and they it kind of, I like that theme of being like at the pinnacle, or striving towards the pinnacle, striving towards being in full union with God and being fully conformed to Christ. And I think our life is a training to get to that point at the end where we finish the race and be with the Lord. So you'll see Ascension as being a main theme in this build. And then the other side is the same thing as the first side that I showed you. So without worrying about the roof so far, I basically did this for the other side as well, for the west wing. And then I decided then to work on the front. So for the front, I wanted to do something different. You'll notice that this side wall has more gold elements rather than stained glass elements. So that was kind of in contrast to this one, where there's more stained glass and no gold, except for the banners. And now there's more gold and less stained glass, but I think the mix and balance of this looks really nice. Again, have the mountain ascending themes, jagged edges, going higher, same kind of theme. You'll see that these large bricks help that theme as well, protrusions. Then for this front of the church, I decided to use different windows, kind of introducing an arch theme. And you'll see that the front and the entrance of the church has a lot of arch elements stacked and interwoven into kind of interesting designs. So I thought that these arch windows would complement that. I believe I put these windows in first and then put the arch elements in, but I really knew that I wanted to use some arch elements, especially for the doors, especially for these doors where they kind of have a arch on the top. And just a note about these doors, you'll see that one is in front of the other. That's just how the Lego brick works. There is no, there's only one piece. There's only this door. These are the same piece. They don't have two separate pieces for left and right. The hinge is kind of behind the door, and that's why you'll see it looks kind of off, but at the same time, it looks pretty nice as well. So nothing I could do about that, but I think it looks good. So these are the same piece. Then I decided to add some fence elements. Something about fences, I guess, in the sense where it's like, it's also, I guess, plays to the cross theme, but it kind of adds a nice hint of like the inside where you can't really fully see through it, but you can see through that from the outside. So I think that's kind of like, inspired by maybe kind of like a slight veil, but not really a veil. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I know in some churches, like they have a iconostasis where it's like kind of like a slight veil, but really it's kind of a glimpse of, peering into heaven. Don't quote me on anything of this. I'm just, I was just learning about different things. But I like the fence where it's kind of like, it's kind of a wall, but it's kind of a separation, but in reality it's not, because you can see through it and, it's not fully hidden. So it's kind of like God's revelation to us sometimes is, we won't get to see the full picture completely only until eternity, but what we do have revealed is more than enough to live faithfully and pleasing to God in this life. So that was a long exposition, but that's basically kind of why I think I liked to use these. Now you see more round pillar elements, you see cylinder elements on the bottom, and you also see these plates, smooth plates. You'll see a lot of smooth plate coverings, just to cover up the studs, I guess, in some areas. And you do have like this, stone kind of brick and a little nice swirl on top. And these bricks were really interesting to use because they're kind of like the door knockers on the old-fashioned ones. And since this is the front of the church, I feel like it was kind of appropriate, but it also just looks really cool. Kind of like a circle element, and I tried to also use a circle element on the top here with a cross in the center. So it played well. So you'll notice actually 3 crosses on the front of the church. I think I didn't really know what to do to fill up the space in the arches. So what I ended up doing was just making crosses. So you have a low one that's kind of like thin and condensed, and then you have a more fully, less condensed, free form, and more similar to what you would expect. And then you have a larger and fully combined, with plates and bricks on the top. And this backing is kind of just to hide the empty space, but at the same time to add a nice background, as well as these little orange see-through studs, kind of maybe symbolic of fire or luminescence, light behind the cross. And and then you'll see a lot of sloped bricks adding to accentuating that sloped element or ascension theme. And you'll see some pillars, and then we can get to the roof soon. Same thing on the other side, keeping the symmetry, and same thing on the side wall, keeping the symmetry. So then I decided to build up. I just have some ladders to add some interesting, I don't know, taste. But started to build inwards, as that's what my thinking was. It took a lot of trial and error to think about what I want to do for the roof, but I just adhered to the basic concept of building inwards and upwards, and that's pretty much the philosophy behind the roof. I did end up using these kind of like ratchet bricks. See if we can pull one out. Yeah, so this is that one, and let's see if we can get another one. All right, well, I can pull this one off and then take this one. Okay. Yep, so this is how I basically built that kind of, I don't even know what to call it, this like array of smooth bricks. So I just used these two bricks, kind of like a ratchet, and that has like teeth, and you can swivel it front and backwards and forward. So I tilted it at an angle, and then I built this kind of array or like wall of smooth curved bricks. Kind of reminds me of like a maybe pizza restaurant or banner or something like that, but at the same time, not so. Okay, forget what I said about the pizza restaurant thing. Yeah, this is more kind of, it's just kind of like flourishing kind of design. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but yeah, I did that for both sides and all around, and then I just used a lot of these kind of slope bricks, long bricks, to build up. So I have the same principle, sloped inwards and upwards, building up, and then I eventually introduced more round elements. So I have a lot of these kind of semicircle or quarter circles bricks, as well as this dome. I kind of want some dome elements, but at the same time, since it was more of a balance of trying to keep curve and angled elements, you know, trying to keep a balance between both. So I put those all around. Then I added some more of these flowing design. So that'll be another design that you'll notice is kind of like a wavy design or flowing waters. So I think water is a huge symbol in the Bible. It can signify death, destruction, as well as life, and kind of like life source. Because you notice that if you read Genesis, that the earth was formed first with like a foundation of water, and then land came, but like water was the main foundation. And then you see that the water was also used as a flood to cleanse the world. And so it can, and I think in Old Testament literature, water is seen as, you know, very powerful force that can be used for destruction, but at the same time, water is vital to life. We all need water to survive, and it is an essential component of life, not just for humans, but for plants, for animals. And then we see in the New Testament how Jesus says that he is the fountain of life, the spring of life, and source of living waters. And in Revelation, we see in the new earth, new heavens, the river of life. So I thought that was a good thing to incorporate. So there's some wavy elements, and there's going to be kind of these flowing water kind of design, like a waterfall. So here you have some flowing kind of water designs again, and some more slope bricks, just trying to combine interesting bricks together. The roofs are going to be pretty similar. They're, you know, just building inwards, and then adding these angled elements on top, very subtle angle elements, but all contribute to that idea of, you know, having a roof that's angled. And for this, I used a lot of angled bricks as well, small bricks, larger bricks, and then covered everything with smooth plates. I added some gold elements just to add some design, but when you zoom out, it looks pretty interesting. So then I guess I can talk about the center roof, since that was actually before all the more higher roofs. The center roof, you can't really see it maybe at this angle, but I have pillars extending to the ground from the four corners of the center roof. And I also have pillars going horizontally from the top of the corner pillars. So this is just kind of provided like a foundational structure, or like a ceiling beam. It's not perfect, but I have this like little bigger or wider cylinder in the middle just to give some design, and kind of fits nicely with this kind of rib cage design where I have these clear or transparent bricks not fully meeting in the middle, but kind of again creating a triangle or ascension design. Big fan of triangles. I have similar thing going on here, but this time all the plates reach the same point. This is to keep in line with that cross cutout on the top. So symmetrical on all sides, and covered a lot of it with plates, but didn't want to go too far because I did like some of that studded design. Put some studs over here, and because this is going to help me fill in the gaps between these side panels of the roof and the center roof. So you see here I have cylinders kind of covering up the gaps, as well as some square bricks as well. So that is how I covered up most of these in between gap spaces. So now I guess we can move to the back, where I think this is the highlight and main crux, if you will, pun intended, of this build. So I really enjoyed building this, and I think there's a lot of symbolism going on here. Again, I have the arch design with the same thing where it's kind of like a hierarchy, or I like to think of, still let's keep the word ascension, 3 to 2 to 1, and then I have some arcs on top going from larger or wider to thinner. Same thing also in the middle, but this time I think it was a little bit more elaborate because I can make a more pronounced ascension theme. And so this part around the cross was really, really fun to build. It's kind of almost like a waterfall where, again, Jesus Christ is the living waters. So like God blesses us with water and life and so many blessings raining, the blessings down from heaven, and then we can receive them and also strive to one day be in full union with God. It's just really beautiful to see kind of this waterfall theme design. So for the cross, I wanted originally a circle behind it, and I was trying to find a good brick to do this, but I eventually used these what are called windows with spokes around the top. They kind of remind me of wheel spokes. So if you see here, the semicircle is a little bit separated, but this was just because due to the design. And if you look more closely, trying to get a better angle, you can see that behind it are spokes that are closer together, but kind of in the end made a nice design. I also used a lot of these arch elements. These little curved slopes were really nice because they added a lot of flexibility if I needed to get somewhere. For instance, like get these connections from this arch to this arch. I can use these small slope bricks and play them in interesting ways to get to where I needed to build to. And I have a lot of really interesting arch, I guess, I don't want to say techniques, but the way I implemented them was pretty interesting. You have this S shape where I have these arches opposing each other a little bit, building on top of each other. I have these two arches back to back, so it kind of creates like this little arrowhead. And then of course you have the regular use of arches, which is kind of like rainbows over top of each other. It kind of just reminds me of like a cradle or something, all surrounded, holding this main piece, the golden cross piece. It's kind of like, I don't know, like it's almost like a throne or like a temple surrounding the cross. So I just really like it. And of course I have some pillar elements here, and cylinders and even this little ring attached to that plate. Some end caps or points. Yeah, I really liked using these little arches with that. Kind of look like shoes or like pointed dress shoes or heels or something like that. You can use them in really interesting ways and have some kind of like protrusions, kind of like you would see on a lot of buildings at the top. I'm not sure exactly what to call these, but yeah, they're just on the sides. So yeah, I have some protrusions out here, kind of like just adding some slopes to the outside, giving the wall more depth. Even here, it juts out a little bit to give the walls a little bit more character and depth. Then on the side, I have the same philosophy with the Ascension, but now it's making these kind of K indents, or almost like concave. Yeah, it's concave design with empty space, and these cylinders and these pointed caps, and just adding a little uniqueness to the same design of Ascension. So originally I thought about putting torches here, but I ended up liking this design better. They have the same thing on the other side as well, keeping the symmetry. So now we have the roof, and now this is kind of like a variation where every other brick is a different kind of wavy design, but it all comes together to make a, largely uniform design. Enough heterogeneity and then coming together to make it kind of like united. So then I kept on building up with these bricks, introduced some round elements as well, have this kind of round backboard for the intricate cross cradle, I guess, and kind of like waves, almost adds a little bit waves, and also adds kind of like a slope. So now the reason why I have these studs here is because it was really like a miracle from God that I was able to build these roofs to the same height, and I didn't calculate this or anything. I was just building and seeing where things went, and I was able to get these roofs at the same height without really thinking too much about them. But one thing I knew as I was building is that just by nature of how the fore roof, I guess, like before getting to the roof, I just call it the fore roof. The fore roof is different for the back and the front, so I know that there would be some width differences. So you'll notice that this width, before getting to the actual roof, is wider than this one, because this one I built more inwards quicker, and that's why it's not it was able to get to this height without getting these plates. But for this one I expanded it a little bit and did not build as quickly inwards. So if I were to keep on building inward from this point, this would be much taller. So in order to keep the same height of the roof as all the other roofs, I had to use these plates to get quickly towards more of the center and then build the roof from there. So maybe I'll cover these up, but I think they look okay for now. So same philosophy with the roof. It's just using a lot of slope bricks. I'm trying to package them into nice little kind of designs and that aren't too jarring, and then smoothing everything out with smooth bricks. Also covering up some of the gaps by using these combination of these bricks where it's like kind of a wall and also some slope, and and then leaving some interesting designs in the middle, kind of like a triangle, just to keep with that triangle theme, the Ascension ribcage theme of the center roof there. So yeah, the side wings are also similar, building in and out, but there's more of a step design because felt like I needed a little bit kind of more steps because I was using a lot of smooth slope bricks. I just wanted some of more rugged, basic looking steps, and added this mid section where it's like with some windows and just regular you know, how you build like a normal regular Lego wall, then sloped inwards, and I left this cross cutout because I think it looks nice, and that's one of the themes, the cross cutouts. You know, ideally if light is shining through, you would be able to see it inside of a church, that beautiful cross. And then continue building up and then inwards with more sloped bricks, same as all the other roofs. And I added more gold accents here. Just felt like it needed something, some lines, as well as some cross accents. So I think the gold looks nice, and then everything is just, you know, covering with smooth bricks and making sure that all these angular bricks fit together nicely and have some sort of closed design, some closure, I guess. So yeah, this wing's the same, except I couldn't decide whether I liked the translucent orange bricks in the middle or just plain gold. So I just have two of these. I might decide later on, but for now I guess I have both. Alright, so now that really covers basically the walls, the diagonal side walls, the roofs, and so at that point though, there were these empty spaces in between the roofs, and I didn't know what to do. At one point, you can see this in my shorts, or I made like an icicle step where I was planning on just making steps into the center roof, but that turned out to be really difficult and hard to keep track of. So then I decided to just cover these empty spaces, like these empty triangles, with some plates. And the thing is though, I felt like they needed something else. Like with just the plates, it kind of looked a little bit weird. So then I just decided to build these cup holders. And the reason I'm calling them cup holders is because when I didn't have the cover on them, it looked like you could put a cup in them. So whatever you want to call them, like, I guess the word smokestacks keeps on coming to me, but it's not really smokestacks because there's not going to be smoke coming out of them. But like they're kind of like just, you know, kind of like just columns, hollow columns, or I guess yeah, not sure, like the smokestacks of a ship, but they're covered and they don't blow smoke. So yeah, I use these cup holders to add some design. For the front of the church, actually, there was more of a space in between here, so I had to cover that up with this kind of, again, almost like icicle, snow, or freezing. It looks like something, there's water running here and it froze over, but I think it looked nice. The other ones in the back don't have it because there was not that issue. But I eventually put these fenced plates on top, and I think they look really nice. Like that's one of my favorite parts of this build here is the fenced plates covering the cup holders, and I put a little dome or dish or disc on top, as well as some L-shaped bricks, kind of like angle brackets, just to accentuate this top of the cup holder. Does add a nice kind of design to it. And then added some smooth plates to all this, some angled bricks and angled smooth bricks to merge it or kind of mix it with the side walls of the roof, which I added later. But these are basically, you know, sloped bricks or sloped tall pillar bricks. These are, you know, plates, sloped plates, some round bricks as well. All very symmetrical and similar, just depending on where I needed to get to in terms of the roof and in between. So you'll see a small difference between east and west wings and north and south wings. So yeah, after that, again, going back to this, I had to fill up all the holes and added some pillar looking elements, since this is a pillar that reaches down. So why not just continue the pillar theme? And that's what I did. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, I learned a lot. I learned how to deal with the intricacies of using software like this. Sometimes really hard to get bricks into the right places, so I just changed my view. I learned how to like navigate the camera. It can get a little confusing sometimes, but overall, I think I did pretty well. Used a lot of keyboard shortcuts like Control for selecting multiple bricks, Alt for duplicating and cloning them on the fly. And I think yeah, like right click was to move the camera, spacebar to physically actually move the camera, right click is moving the camera angle. But yeah, I think I would definitely be interested in doing another project like this. It's just that I think like it's a kind of have to know what I want to really. I feel like I can be more refined with this build. Like this is kind of a lot of ideas thrown together, and I think in the future I could be more refined and also make similar as good looking build but with fewer pieces. Because if I were to build this in real life, this is 10,548 total bricks, and that's a lot. And I feel like there's a lot can happen sometimes. Like you'll see a lot of gaps that I didn't account for. Sometimes these might be mistakes. Sometimes it's just like things don't work out as you planned when you have so many bricks to worry about, and sometimes you just forget from day to day how you built something, and you have to go back and take it apart. So I think, and you look at professional Lego models and builders, and they are really selective with their bricks, and that's something I want to be doing more in the future, being more selective with my bricks and condensing my models and condensing my builds to the point where they look really nice and they are manageable and feasible to actually build in real life. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let me know if you have any comments or if you want to see more videos on this particular build, or if you have any suggestions on what I should build next. Feel free to leave it in the comment section below. So until next time, thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Thank you.